Namaskar, my name is Manish Kumar and I welcome all of you to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to talk about how to write a DAG. And I am shooting this video for the third time. First time I shot it for Hindi, but for the second time when I shot it for English, the screen capture was not enabled and I did not get any screen capture, so I am shooting it again. So I might have little less energy, but I'll try to be as energetic as I can. But yeah, of course that I made a mistake. I have made hundreds of videos, but still I do make sometimes this kind of mistakes. So without further delay, we will go to the laptop screen and discuss each and everything about how to write our DAG. Alright, so we are at laptop screen and in today's video we are going to see some potential interview question which will definitely be asked if they are discussing about the airflow. And the first and foremost important question would be what is operator. So in almost all the interview they will ask you about what is operator. Also they will ask you about what is the difference between task and operator. Okay. The next question, what all operator you have used till now? So this is also famous question because they want to understand what all things you have worked upon. Then how do you set dependency between the task? How do you set dependency between the DAG? The fourth question we are not going to discuss today about setting the dependency between two DAGs. But third, we are definitely going to talk about how to set dependency between DAGs because that is what DAG means. DAG is a collection of tasks with its particular set of dependency and when to run, how to run, those details, right? So first we will talk about what is operator, right? So you are already familiar with task, right? What is task? Task is a single unit of work. Now, if I ask you how to run the task, right? So to run the task, operator is required. Okay. Now, task can be of any kind, like task can be to run shell file, task can be to run Python files, task can be to run Lambda, task can be to run EMR scripts, right? So every time we have a different set of tasks to be performed, and that is where we have a implementation of task that is called operator, right? So I'll write here task because this is mostly asked in interview. Like this will be one of the key question that what is the difference between task and operator, because if task can do everything, then what is the need of operator? So you can consider operator, right? Operator is the implementation of task. Okay. So if task has to be done, it has to be implemented through operator. You can think of like this. Okay. So here, right, I'll create a DAG because they will definitely ask you about this. So you should be thoroughly clear. And once we will write our first DAG today, then also operator will get more clearer. Okay. So this is a DAG, right? We have the different task here, right? 1, 2 and 3 are task. But to run the task, there is operator. Okay. Each time to run a task, there is a operator. So everywhere you will see every task will have some kind of operator. That's why you can see I have written operator is the implementation of task. Okay. In a bigger picture, you can consider if this entire box is a task, then operator is a part of it inside a task, right? So this is how on a mental model you can see that mentally if you want to mind map these things, then this is how you can see the DAG is there, inside DAG task is there, and inside task operator is there. Okay, this is how you have to remember these things. And if someone asks you what is task, what is operator, what is DAG, now you know everything, right? And once we will write our first DAG, these things will be crystal clear, I would say. Okay. now the time has come to write our first DAG. Okay, so writing our first DAG. We are going to write a code. First, we will write it here on the notepad, and once we understand each and everything about the DAG, writing the same code in VS Code will be piece of cake. You will understand each and every point, why this has to be written, how this has to be written. Okay, so we are going to write our first DAG, and to write a DAG, we will import the DAG class. So to import the DAG class, we have from airflow.sdk import DAG. So I am basically importing the DAG class, and this is how it has to be imported from airflow.sdk. If you already know a little bit about Airflow, you might be using, like before 3.0, basically we have received 3.0 version in Airflow recently. So before that we were using like airflow.models.dag and directly from Airflow import DAG, something like that was there, but now it's everything is wrapped up inside the SDK module. That's why it is now being called Task SDK. Sometimes you'll heard a lot of things about Task SDK. So this is what SDK is here. Everything is organized inside SDK. Okay, software development toolkit or kit. So we imported the DAG. Now we will create a instance of DAG, right? Since this is a DAG is a class, we will create an object of class, right? So I'll give the name DAG equal to DAG. Okay, DAG is a class, and I'm creating an object. That name, I'm giving the name as DAG. I can give any name. I can give Manish as well, but that will not be appropriate. That's why I'm writing here DAG in small letter, and here it's a DAG class as a capital letter. Okay, now here I will have to pass the required argument. To create an object, we'll have to pass some required arguments. So what are the required arguments here for the DAG is DAG ID. So there is just one required argument, and that is called DAG ID. DAG ID is the unique name which we provide when writing our DAG. So this will be known, like this will be, since this is a unique one, this will be the primary key for your in your entire Airflow cluster. This is how you will be known. So if I write DAG ID equal to running code, so running code will be the name of that DAG, and that is how it will be represented. So for us, since this is our first DAG, so I can give the name as my first DAG, right? This will sound more clear that okay, this is how we have written our first DAG. So how to write a code? Now this is the layout, right? This is a layout, I would say, or template, right? This is a kind of a template, but how are we going to create it? So here I'll write DAG equal to DAG, and inside this I can write DAG underscore ID equal to, I'll give my first DAG, right? So this is the unique name which will identify my DAG, and this is the name which I will be seeing on the Airflow UI. Okay, and from there we can do everything. So this name is very important. So give the name very specific with a little more details. Don't just write test1, test2, something like that. Okay, otherwise you will not know what was there inside the test1 or test2. That's why I always write some meaningful names. Then the next thing, we know that DAG is a collection of tasks, right? We have been talking a lot about DAG is collection of tasks. So now we are going to create a task, right? So I'll create task 1. So task 1 is, I'm going to give the name of my task is copy file. Okay, this is basically a variable name. This is not a task name, but yeah, copy file is the variable name, and this is the name I'm going to create the task for. So copy file is the task name. I'm going to copy one file. Of course, I'm not going to copy the file right now. I'm not going to get into the file system and all. I'm just saying I'm creating one task that will copy the file. Now, as I said, to run your task or to implement your task, you need an operator. So that is where I will call here a bash operator. There are different kind of operator to different tasks to perform different tasks. Here I am writing bash operator. There are 3-4 generic operators like Python operator, bash operator, SSH operator. These are the generic one which can run any kind of task. Okay. So I created a bash operator. Now, if I created a bash operator, again, I would need some required argument to pass, right? I will show you also how do I come to know that what all arguments are required through the code. But yes, for now already I have figured it out all those things. So you don't need to, but of course I'll show you how things are working internally, right? So required arguments are, one is the DAG itself. The second one is task ID. This is the name. Task ID and DAG ID will be shown on Airflow UI. This is the variable name and this is the actual name of task that will be shown on UI. And then the third thing is bash command. Since this is a bash operator, we need a bash command. But it's not always to be going to be the bash command. If it is a Python, then it will be a Python callable, not Python command. Okay. So these are the 3 required arguments that has to be passed to create the bash operator. Okay. And now also, if bash operator is the implementation, then this basically this is a class, right? And if this is a class, we'll have to import this. So how are we going to import? There is a long name from Airflow dot providers, right? You don't need to remember, but yeah, it's always good if you remember some of the things, like, okay, this is how we import things. Dot standard dot, I'll show you everything, like whatever I'm writing, operators dot bash. So this is the bash file, and inside this we have a bash operator. Okay, bash operator. Okay, now I'm going to create the second task, right? As I said, it can have, like, DAG can have one task or multiple tasks. So it's a collection of tasks. I'm going to create another task, and that task is going to be the task. I'm just giving the name as task 2 here, right? And this one I will use Python operator. Okay. And this Python operator also will have some required argument, right? So what are those required argument? Just now I talked about the list of required argument that would be required here. Those are DAG and task ID is always there. And the third one will be the Python callable. Okay. Python callable is basically, it will call a Python method to whatever things has to be performed. Okay. Now these are the layout or structure blueprint, right? But we have to write actual code. So if I have to write the actual code for copy file, right? So I'll write it here, copy file equal to bash operator, right? This is going to be their bash operator, and inside this I have to pass DAG. Now where will I get the DAG from? So DAG equal to, so whatever I have written, these are the key, and the value for the DAG just now we created value is DAG here or here, right? This one we created DAG object, and this is what I'm passing it here. Then second one is task ID. So for task ID, I can give any name that will be shown on Airflow UI. Again, if I give the name as test or task 2, no one will know, right? Or task A, B, C, that I would not understand what exactly happening inside. But here, since we know that copy file is there, so I can just write copy file, right? I can give the task name this way. Then the next thing is bash command, right? So since I said that I'm not going to actually copy the file from here and there, I'm just printing the statement here inside this echo, right? Copying from one location, right? Just I am giving the print statement. So echo is equal to print in Python. Okay, echo is to print the whatever the things that we are passing after echo, right? Print the variables or strings or anything. Then I also have a task 2. That was the structure, but this is the implementation, like how we are going to write the code inside VS Code, and that will basically get passed, and we will see on the Airflow UI. We are going to see everything in action. You don't need to worry. Then I have a task 2, right? In task 2, I am going to use Python operator as we discussed earlier, right? So this is going to be Python operator. Also, I'm going to see how Python operator is implemented, how bash operator is implemented, how bash operator is inheriting from base operator. If these things are not making sense, first you'll have to do you'll have to understand Python very well, and also OOP concept very well, because I'm going to talk again and again about these things. Okay. So DAG equal to DAG, that is going to be there. Task ID equal to, I'm just giving the name again here, not a specific name or not particular name which I was talking about. Give some good names, but for now I'm giving task 2. And then the last one is Python call level. Okay, in Python call level I have to pass one function, right? I have to pass function, but I have not created any function yet. So how will I pass, right? So that is where first we are going to create a function. The function name I'm going to use here is print context. Now I am saying again that whatever I am writing here, I will explain in some different videos. But for now, you can understand that this is how codes are written to create a DAG, right? So this is print context and star keyword argument. Again, you will have to understand what is star keyword argument, star args. So these are the things you will have to understand, right? And then here I will write print keyword arguments, and at last maybe I just want to print job completed. Okay. So this is how I created a DAG, right? So what all things I have created till now. So now we will do mind mapping, right? Everything has to be stored in our mind with crystal clear things, right? It should be like everything should be clear that okay, what all things I have implemented till now. So I implemented 2 tasks. One task said copy file. Another task said task 2. These are the task ID name. Okay, we implemented DAG object and 2 file. But till now we have not set the dependency, right? That task copy file will run first and then task 2 will run. So now we'll have to set the dependency as well. And for copy file, what did we use? We use bash operator, right? And for task 2, we use Python operator. So till now we have implemented this, but this portion is still missing, right? This portion still has to be completed. To complete this, what we have to do? We have multiple ways to do that. One is, I'll just say copy file and then task 2. This name is coming from the variable 1. Okay, just be careful, otherwise you will get the error. And then this copy file is coming from the variable. So these two are variable, not the task ID. Okay, okay, these things. or I can say copy file. This one is one way, right shift operator, right? This is the right shift operator. This way you can set the dependency. If I would have task 3, then I would write task 3 also. Copy file will run first, then task 2, then task 3, this way, right? So right shift operator will be basically the showing the direction. If I change the direction here to the left side, then task 2 will run first and then copy file. But that is not the case, at least in our case. So I'll write this way. So you can set copy.file set underscore downstream, right? Downstream and upstream. These are the two methods that you can say. So copy file and then set downstream. Downstream will be task 2. So first this should run and then task 2 run. The same way you can just reverse the order, like task 2, right? Dot set upstream. So to run the task 2, first it has to run copy underscore file, right? So this is how we are done with writing our first DAG. Now if the same things has to be implemented in the code, do you think it is going to be a tough task now? No, right? Because we understand each and everything. Why we are writing even a single line. I did not do a Python operator here, so I missed that part. I'll just write it here, import Python operator, right? And here operator dot Python. So initially it was bash, now it is Python. Everything will be the same. Okay. So this is how we have written our first DAG. Do you think now it is going to be a tough task? No. So let's go and create the first DAG ever in your Airflow system that is running. Now I'll go to the Visual Studio Code, right? And here we already had written one DAG that we are not going to discuss today. What we have to discuss is first you have to go to the Docker and then see if your Docker is running or not. If your Docker is not running, then first you'll have to do docker compose up, go to this docker compose directory, open integrated terminal, and then docker compose up and go docker compose down, whatever things has to be done, right? So first you'll have to down and then up, which we have already discussed in the last lecture. Now I am not going to talk about that part. So inside DAG folder, every DAG has to be written, that we already discussed in the last lecture. So directly I'm going to create one file inside the DAG folder. We are going to give this name my first dag.py, right? And now what I have to do? I have to do the import statement. So from Airflow, right? Now you are seeing the suggestion here, but it can be the case that you are not seeing this suggestion, right? And this is happening because your Airflow is running inside Docker and your VS Code is running on your local, and your local does not know about Airflow, right? So you won't get the suggestion. If you are not getting the suggestion, just go to the terminal, right? Control tilde or whatever the way you can open, and just do here pip3 or pip install apache -airflow, either pip install or pip3 install. And see, I already have installed. That's why I was getting the suggestion also. If you're not getting suggestion, then you can do this. And still, if you're not getting it after installing it, then just close the VS Code once and reopen it. Definitely after that, it will work. Okay. Now, what we have to do from airflow.sdk. Just now we have talked everything inside our code, right? So just I'm going to do the same thing, and of course with the time I'll explain the things that I did not do there because I did not have the flexibility to do there, to go inside code and show everything. How do I come to know those things, right? So now the next thing is DAG equal to DAG, right? And the only required argument is DAG ID, and I'm going to write my first. See, I'm getting suggestion schedule. Wait, schedule interval and these things, no, I don't need it. Actually I'm getting extra suggestion, so this is the only thing that would be required, DAG equal to DAG ID. Now how do I know that only DAG ID is required argument? So if you want to go to the implementation of DAG, you can click command or control, hover over here and then press left key or right key, whatever. It will go inside the implementation, and if you go in here inside the DAG, if you can see the class DAG, and here you can see DAG takes just one argument as a required one. See, it takes description also, but description is not required because you can see the default value is set as none. The same goes for this one, start date also. Default argument does not take any argument, but this is not required because if you are not passing it, then it will just give you the empty string. It will set by default as empty string. That's why none is not there. End date, of course you can set none, time zone and everything that is not required. So here just the DAG ID was required and I passed the DAG ID. That's why I am good now. Okay. This is how we come to know. If you don't know, that's fine. Now you know that how to go and where to check. Okay. The next thing is now I have to create a task. So I'll do copy file. This is the task that I'm going to use. I'm going to use bash operator. Now I'm going to write DAG equal to DAG. Then next thing is task ID. Task ID I'm going to write copy file, and then bash command equal to, what did we decide? Echo, where is our, see, what did I write inside echo? See, copying from one location. So the same line I would write it here. Okay? Copying from one location. I'm just doing a print statement, nothing else, and then I'll close it. So this is how I created the bash operator and basically a task, right? But if you click here, it says bash operator is not defined because we did not do import. So for import, I can write here from airflow. See here, now this is not giving me the correct path, right? This is giving me the old one that is there. So now I'm going to pass the new airflow 3.1. So airflow dot providers. See, now it took the newest name basically from airflow 3.0. So I'll just press tab and this will get auto filled. Okay? From airflow dot providers. No, this is also not correct. From airflow dot providers dot standard dot operators dot bash import bash operator. Now this is the correct import. Okay. The next thing is I have to create a task 2. Then I'll write Python operator here. Okay. Inside this again I'll pass DAG equal to DAG, task equal to task, Python call level equal to this. Now Python call level, I have to write my own method, and the method name was, you can see again here. I'm just doing each and everything and I'll explain you how things are working internally also, right? So Python call level, and then here the method name is print context. I'll create the method here on top because the print context should be available when we are creating this task, right? So print context. And here what was there? Star keyword arguments, print keyword arguments, and then last line job completed or job done, right? So I'll write job completed. Okay. So this is how I have written the 2 task and created one DAG object. Still my Python operator is not imported. So I'll just do here, and I got this suggestion. So I'll do the import. Okay. So this is how our task is done. Now I just have to set the task dependency. So I'll do copy file and then right shift operator and then task 2. So this is the entire DAG file that was required to write. Now before running there, how did I come to know that only these three things are required, right? DAG, task ID and bash command. So if you go again inside the bash operator, and I think a few minutes back I was talking about base operator also. So bash operator implements base operator. So basically this is inheritance being implemented here for the base operator, and inside base operator if you go here you can see task ID again is the required argument. I can see owner is also required argument, but default owner is passed and default owner is airflow. Okay, so somewhere you will see these things also in action. Whenever you see the print statement, you will see owner as airflow, and that is coming from base operator, and base operator is implementing bash operator. Okay, Python operator same way, it is also implementing base operator. So when we will be writing our custom operator, which I said we use in industry a lot, so that time we will be implementing the base operator, like we will be inheriting everything from base operator and we will be creating our own operator. Okay, in Python operator you will also see Python callable is required, task ID is required and DAG is required. So this is how you can come to know, okay, what all things are required and how things are internally implemented, that also you can see. But for now we are good. Now time has come to see everything in action, if everything is running or not, and if there is any problem we will fix it. But mostly we have written everything in correct order, in correct syntax, so I don't think there will be any issue. Now you know where to go, localhost 8080. I'll just refresh the page. You can see here my first DAG is created. Okay, and this is showing because as I told you in the earlier that I by mistake created the this thing, and you can see here one already run is there. But how come this run came here? This came because I told you at the starting that by mistake I did not capture the screen, and that is where I was running this DAG, and this DAG is showing up here. Okay, so I should have deleted it, but I did not. So now this is showing up, but nothing to worry. I'll just see, initially for you this will be not activated, so I'll just activate it and then click on trigger, or even if you don't click on activate, and then you can directly manually trigger it, so this will run. Okay, now here you can see this is the run that we just now completed. Before going there, you can see here this is the copy file, task is there and task 2 is there, and that is how mind mapping I was also doing there, right? Every time I was showing you, okay, copy file is there and then task 2 is there and one is dependent on another one, right? And this is what being shown on the Airflow UI as well. So we will go to the list view, or I don't know which view it is called, grid view, right? Grid view, this is graph view, this is grid view. Okay, so here if I click on this task, copy file task, I can see command exited with return code 0, everything ran successfully, and here it says copy, see I'll just zoom a little bit, copy from one location. This is what the line that we printed, right? So everything is working. But if you see here, this is saying pushing XCOM, but you should remember that we did not push any value into XCOM. XCOM is cross communication, which we will see in the later lecture. But now since I saw this here, I am explaining you why this you are saying here, right? So pushing XCOM was not expected that this will come, but how did this come, right? So now again we will go to the code and we will see where this is coming from. We ran bash operator. Okay, inside bash operator, if I go to the bash operator and if I search XCOM push, right, XCOM push, these are the doc string. You see here, do XCOM push equal to true. So by default every operator will have this do XCOM push equal to true, but every operator implementation can shut it down by setting false, or just put it keep it as it is and it will be set it as true, right? So this is where this is coming from. So everything is written there. It just that we have to find out where it has been written. Okay. So now this is running. Again, I think I did make a mistake here in this one, and why this is giving error. DAG is invalid. Okay. So last time also I made a mistake, and this time also I made a mistake for print statement. So if I go to the DAG, by mistake, line number 8, I created, I brought this keyword argument, but I printed this keyword argument with a star, and that is what it is throwing an error inside the print statement in the DAG. Okay. So now it has, like, I fixed the code. Now again I'll go here. There are two things I can do. In one of the last, in one of the video, one of the comment section was there that if I can use ADF, I can use Databricks workflow, then why do I need Airflow? So one of the advantages here is, now we know that copy file is already succeeded, then why to waste memory and time here by rerunning the code, right? Of course, for me right now, copying file is not taking a lot of time or resources, but in real time, copying file from one system to another, and if you are running again and again, it is going to take a lot of time, right? So since I know that only task 2 failed, then why to run task 1 again, right? So what I'll do, I'll click on task 2 here, this cross button. I'll go to here, clear task instance. I'll confirm it, and this will clear it, and this will rerun again. And this time it succeeded, right? So this is one of the advantages that we are seeing in the Airflow, that if the job succeeded, if the DAG is failing for a specific task, we can rerun the same task again by clearing the task instance. Okay. Task instance, we will talk in some of the lecture. Airflow UI details, we will talk in after 1 or 2 lecture. But yeah, this is how we are, like, this is how we see the error and fix the issue and then rerun the job. But yes, of course, I'll tell you many more things which is there on Airflow UI. But for now, this is what is required. So I'm telling you this part only. Now I'll just, because this is very small, I'll just zoom in a bit and see here. It is printing all the context that was there, and also the last line. If you see, okay. Oh, here, no, we did return. Yeah. Job completed is the last line that it printed. Okay. So this is how we can confirm that our first DAG is running, and we know many things about the DAG. Also, these are the keyword arguments that I passed, but I am not explaining what all things are here that is getting printed. But of course, throughout the lecture, when we will proceed further into this playlist, we will talk each and everything that is getting printed here. We will understand each and everything in detail, and what is the advantage, disadvantage of the things that is being shown here, how to use it, how to not use it. Okay. So there are a lot of things to learn, but we are done for the today's lecture. Just one thing is remaining, is how do we write the DAG. Okay. Like, there are different way to write DAG, and I have shown here 4 to 5 way to write a DAG. This is very small font right now, but you don't need to focus on font. It's just the way how it has been implemented. Okay. Also, before talking about this, because this is the last section of it, in the next lecture, we are going to talk about Airflow internals. Like, we just wrote a DAG, and how this DAG is running, how this DAG knows where to run, how to run. And also, just now I made a mistake, like I did not record the screen, but when I ran the DAG again, it was showing the last DAG also, right? Last run details also, how those things are running in internally. So those things we will see in the next lecture. Next lecture is going to be the most valuable lecture, I would say, in the entire playlist, because 40 to 50% of the question will revolve around this. Of course, you cannot understand each and everything that I'm going to say in the next lecture, but mostly the question will be from that side. Okay. So the next lecture is very important. Now we will talk about what all ways we can write a DAG. This is the first way that we wrote the DAG. The second thing, we are also going to use it, this default argument. So extra I have added default argument. Some people add default argument inside the when they are creating the DAG object itself. But for now, from the next lecture, whenever we need more default arguments, we will create a default argument variable, and then we will use that variable inside a DAG. So this is what being used here. Then another way to write is with context. So if we use with context, we don't need to pass the DAG object each and every time in the task. So this is also one of the commonly used method. This is the one I use because I have been using a lot like Airflow a lot from past few years. So at that time it was more being utilized. So I am more lean towards that way of writing. But yeah, there are newer and cleaner approach. Still I am not writing that way, but yeah, there are some clean approach, and this is the one is decorator one. So if you see, this is how we create a DAG. Of course, task is not created that way. So that is where we have a task flow API. Okay. This is a task flow API, and here you can see task is also decorated, and DAG is also decorated. So these are the some ways to write a DAG. Every DAG is correct. It's just that the preference of writing one over another. So I think we are done with the today's lecture, and my throat is also paining now, continuously shooting from last 1.5 hours or so. I don't know. I saw 3 videos, so 30, if it is a 30 minutes, that will become 90 minutes. So I'll close this lecture today. I think we have understood each and everything that would be required. That was required for at least today's lecture. Operator, we understand very deeply. What all operator? At least for now, we know Python operator and Bash operator, and mostly we will be knowing this two only. We will see what all operators to be included, but mostly we are going to focus on this two only. Okay. How do you set dependency? This is also done. I don't know in which lecture, but we are definitely going to talk about how to trigger DAG, one DAG from another DAG. So okay, now I'll close the lecture, and we will meet in the next lecture. Don't skip the next one, because that is going to be the most important one. Okay, so we'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye.